did you meet these fantastic men? Ian, Paul, it's so lovely to have you here with us. Welcome. And I raise my glass to welcome you. We have the Vice President of Marketing from Zing Zang, the company who makes the best not only mixers, but now ready-to-drink cocktails. Extraordinary friend Diane Mina joins us from her home in Las Vegas, where she has...
Need a push getting your spirits, wine, or beverage brand into the hands of consumers? Interested in winning medals like a double gold award? Proof Awards, the ultimate beverage competition, can help jumpstart your brand into the hands of beverage buyers. Enter the Proof Awards. Be a part of the Proof Awards marketing campaign with our partner, Food and Beverage Magazine. All of our judges are buyers, and that's what sets our awards program apart from the others. Our judges head the beverage programs for restaurants, bars, nightclubs, casinos, liquor stores, big box retail, and national wine and spirits distributors. Your brand will be tasted by buyers from more than 15 states across the U.S. We have hundreds of categories to choose from at www.proofawards.com. Be seen by 12 million readers with our partner, Food and Beverage Magazine. Get tasted and rated by buyers. The Proof Awards competition is open for spirits, wine, and beverage brands today. Proof Awards, moving brands into the marketplace. www.proofawards.com.
Welcome to Proof Live, where booze brands in the right hands. On a quest for the best tipple and toast with the most exciting and respected bottlings. Competing for the 100-point Perfect Score Century Award and the double gold and a spot on the top shelf to be sipped, shaken, stirred, and celebrated. Slide up to the bar with the biggest names in the spirits game as they clink glasses with your hostess, legendary connoisseur Jennifer English, for intimate conversations, live tastings, product launches, and the happiest hour there is. Now, broadcasting live from the commodious confines of the Swanky Proof Saloon, where the liquid elite meet. Here is your hostess, the Madam of Manhattans, the Duchess of Daiquiris, the Queen of Conviviality, your hostess, James Beard Award winner, Jennifer English.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Jennifer English, and I'm the editor-at-large of Proof Magazine. I'm also the editor-at-large of Food and Beverage Magazine, and between the two, we hear some of the greatest food stories from some of the most remarkable companies making incredible products and shaping the future of food. I am thrilled that you're here with us today because we are taking you someplace extraordinary. We're taking you both back in time and into the future. There are a few moments and there are a few interviews where we get to do something truly historic, and that is one of the things we're doing today. If we want to go into the wonderful world of whiskey and celebrate one of the great women who is part of a tradition that goes back generations and takes us into the future, and we look at a giant winner when it comes to Proof Awards, and we look at somebody who has completely reimagined and redefined the space of whiskey in the last couple of years, you look no further than this bottle here called Uncle Nearest. 1856. There is a story here that is not only worth telling, that's America's story. It's a whiskey story. It's a story of remarkable women. And it's a story of how our industry is evolving and changing while still maintaining a connection to our legacy, history, and roots. I am really thrilled to welcome the great, and I want to make sure I've got enough greats in there, the great-great-granddaughter of Nearest Green. There's a connection and a story that I am so honored to welcome her to our table to share with us today. Victoria, welcome. What an honor it is to finally get to speak with you and introduce you to the audience. You have literally made the biggest news there was over the last few years as the master distiller for this brilliant spirit, but it's something you come by really, not only legitimately and organically, but passionately, because this is your family story. Thank you for making this beautiful whiskey, for sharing it with us, and for coming here today. Welcome.
Thank you, Jennifer. I I am extremely honored to be with you this afternoon, to take a seat at your table. So I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so very much.
Not many of us can go back to 1856 and imagine what our forebears and ancestors were doing. When we're talking about the United States and we're talking about the 1850s and we're talking about families like yours, we're talking about a very different kind of time and place. And frankly, I'm not even sure how to begin telling this story. How did you get into this whiskey business?
Oddly
Because
enough,
it's literally something you've had in your family for a very long time, because this is an American story.
It definitely is something that I've had in my family a long time, dating all the way back a little before 1856. Being the great-great-granddaughter of the first known African-American master distiller, I've always known about the history of my great-great-grandfather Nearest Green. And I've always enjoyed a good glass of whiskey since I've been a grown woman. But how I came to be in this space is because of our CEO and founder of Uncle Nearest, Fawn Weaver. And really all it took was a conversation in regards to me joining the team. The process to getting to master blender was a little bit different, and yet unconventional for others who have take up that same space, who are my counterparts. I was just nearing retirement from my previous career when Fawn and I had a conversation about me joining the team, right? And so after a couple of conversations with her, I knew that joining the team was the right thing for me. Not very often, if at all, does a person have the opportunity to pick up a legacy of their ancestor and continue it on after it lay dormant for more than 160 plus years. So saying yes to that was very easy. When Fawn asked me to blend the first batch of our 1884 small batch, that was a little bit different. I had some apprehension and some nerves about it because I had never done anything like that before.
And to tell people that this is in your history, it's not that every generation of your forebears were also in the whiskey business. And for you personally, tell everybody where you were before you were in the whiskey business.
For 31 years, I was in the law enforcement world. For the majority of my tenure, I supervised a team of criminal and forensic analysts for more than 21 years.
Wow.
And so transitioning to the spirits industry was totally new. You know, it was totally different. Nothing I had done before.
Can I tell you?
Learned.
I love that story. And I just want to interrupt you because one of the things that I love about that part of your story is when you transitioned to this, you became a forensic flavor expert.
Oh, wow.
And you became a forensic flavor investigator. And you did all the research to get us into this pure and true. You got to the truth of what this whiskey is. And I don't mean to set it up like that, but it struck me so powerfully that you understood what it meant to go back and do the research and the gumshoe, the detective work to find out what this was going to be. You had the perfect training in some respects to make sure this is what this became.
I think you put it better than I could have, Jennifer. You know, for me in the beginning, it was all about family. Yeah. And it still is. You know, every glass of Uncle Nearest that is raised, every bottle that is purchased, it's all about Nearest Green and the legacy of my family. So
can we actually talk about the fact that this is a Tennessee whiskey? First of all, it's an American whiskey.
Yeah.
And it's a remarkable American whiskey. This is a premium whiskey. And It's also something that is not being called quote unquote bourbon. And it's coming from Tennessee. And Tennessee whiskeys and Kentucky whiskeys are some of the finest produced anywhere in the world. But a Tennessee whiskey is a Tennessee whiskey, and a Kentucky whiskey is a Kentucky whiskey. And for many people, there is one very, very famous Tennessee whiskey, and there's actually a connection that I want you to tell the story of, if you'd be good enough to share.
Absolutely. There's a very strong connection, a connection that we still carry on today. My great-great-grandfather, Nears Green, the once enslaved man who produced and made whiskey for a preacher in Lynchburg, Tennessee, named Dan Call, is also the same man. Nears Green is the same man who mentored and taught Jack Daniel the same process. He taught Jack Daniel everything he knew about whiskey, and he not only mentored him in the spirits industry and teaching him about whiskey, but they became friends. He was his mentor in life. They developed and nurtured a very dear friendship, and that friendship has bubbled over into both of our brands today. We govern ourselves at Uncle Near's Premium Whiskey in the vein of love, honor, and respect, because that's what Nears Green and Jack Daniel had for one another, was love, honor, and respect.
It's not too much of a stretch to say that the original Jack Daniel whiskey that's become one of the biggest selling whiskeys in the world over the generations, in fact, was likely accurately described as a collaboration between Jack Daniel and Nearest Green.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The what separates Tennessee whiskey from any other spirit is the Lincoln County process. The process of filtering whiskey through sugar maple charcoal. And that is what Nears Green helped perfect in 1856. In 2013, the Lincoln County process was signed into law. The governor of Tennessee signed into law any whiskey designed to be Tennessee whiskey must adhere to all the qualifications of bourbon, plus be made in Tennessee, and also it has to adhere to the Lincoln County process. So for us, Nearest Green is undoubtedly the godfather of Tennessee whiskey.
Let's take this one step further and say to people who are interested in really going and connecting with us with this sip, with this story, let's take it to the experience, and let's say why the codification in 2013 of this process was so important, because you can smell the process.
Yes.
The sweet notes that the spirit gives you. And we're using, of course, the neat glass, George Menska's neat glass, because it takes out the heat and lets the authentic aromas really speak to what it is that you're tasting. And of course, one just simple whiff, and you know what you're sipping and
Absolutely.
sniffing. And
Absolutely.
then let's say in the sip, what is it about the sip of a Tennessee whiskey that is so distinctive that it speaks for itself upon taste?
For me, it is home. There's a lot of sweetness and maple, charcoal, earthiness, much like the state itself. You know, the people are friendly. There's goodness and wholesomeness in the state of Tennessee. So, and for a 100 proof whiskey, it doesn't sip like one. It is smooth and rich. Even the color, Jennifer, as you hold the glass in your hand, even the amber, rich color of the whiskey speaks to what it is.
We would be remiss if we didn't take this opportunity. We just got some comments from our audience, one of whom, Tony, I don't know if you can put it back up there, but the co-founder of the Proof Awards, Michelle Tell, said the 1856 was, drum roll please, a Century Award winner.
Oh,
A
my goodness.
100-point perfect score
Perfect.
winner in the Proof Awards for 2021 in the unmasked category, meaning the total package competition. I'm going to tell you two things that are critically important to understand about this honor and distinction. The first is unmasked means that it was not a blind tasting. It was the second round of tasting where the judges, who are themselves professionals and buyers and experts, they saw what this was, so they tasted and they drew from their knowledge in the industry. But most importantly, the Century Award, the 100-point Century Award, can only be given when all judges are in consensus.
Wow.
And we're not talking 2 or 3 judges. We're talking dozens of judges
Wow.
in consensus. To achieve dozens and dozens of palates and experts achieving consensus, something rare has to happen. Something has to be sipped that rises above everything else and announces itself. This may be the best whiskey you have today or ever.
Wow.
To me, that is an extraordinary achievement. Talk a little bit about how that aligns so much with your family legacy, the story, and the spirit.
Well, first of all, what you said is very emotional. It is always an honor when your craft, your product is, when a light is shined on it. We work really hard and we tried really hard to always, always, always put out a quality product. But when people of your caliber and others recognize what you are doing, it is very humbling. So I am extremely grateful for this award. Everything we do, it is to further Nearest Green's legacy. Every accolade, every award, every opportunity to share the story. So on behalf of the Uncle Nearest Premium Whiskey team and my beautiful CEO and founder, Fawn Weaver, I want to thank you guys for recognizing our hard work. So thank you very much. This award, having perfect mark, receiving a 100 across the board, it just shows or confirms rather that we are on the right path in delivering what we set out to do. We are a premium product. We want people to recognize that we are a premium product. When Dan Call, the Baptist preacher that my great-great-grandfather Nearest Green was making whiskey for all those years ago, when he introduced Nearest Green to a young Jack Daniel, he introduced him as the best whiskey maker around. That is in Jack Daniel's legacy book. And so when we launched this brand in 2017, the goal was to continue the standard that Nearest Green set the bar for all those years ago. And this award, again, is confirmation that we are walking in the right path in carrying out the legacy in the best manner to honor Nearest Green.
Is there a house toast that has been passed down in your family? Because
well, you
this
know
is
what?
a moment that calls for a distinguished celebration and toast.
Well,
to
we're
this
all
achievement.
about family in my blood family, and with my whiskey family at Uncle Nearest Premium Whiskey. And for us at home, it has always been to family. And now with my whiskey family at Uncle Nearest Premium Whiskey, it is always to family.
To
So
family.
cheers to family, Jennifer.
Cheers to
Um,
family.
for
Cheers to your
those
family.
Thank you so much. For those that have embraced our brand, for those who share the story, we consider them whiskey family as well. So now that we have joined the ranks of Jennifer English's table, um, I hope you will consider our team part of yours as well.
Without question, without doubt, and without hesitation. I welcome you to my table, and let's give everybody a taste of what is arguably the pinnacle of the whiskey arts, the fine art of whiskey making, blending. You clearly have an extraordinary palate. You have the DNA, obviously, that goes all the way back to the original whiskey makers in the Tennessee tradition. And from the Proof Awards family, you are our family.
Thank you so much.
Let's talk a little bit about what it takes to blend and to speak through spirit to tell this story, because this is a whiskey in a bottle that tells a story that goes back 160 plus years.
Yeah, I think for those who have tried our beautiful whiskey, they can attest that on the nose you get a lot of earthiness and rich chocolate and tobacco. When you taste it on the palate, there's a lot of maple and brown sugar and spices, and then the finish, it is long and strong, but it's not pungent. So, what I hope people take away when they sip our 1884 is that it is one of the most beautiful 100 proof whiskeys that you will ever have the pleasure of sipping. It is an 8 to 14-year-old whiskey. I think it tastes more, sips more like a 14-year-old, but there is some 8 in there. Um,
And that's where the blenders are. I can sip a sip of this and I can speak. I'm not coughing.
yes,
I'm not reaching for the water. This
yes,
is really the fine art of whiskey in a glass. I really
absolutely.
cannot compliment you enough. What's really distinctive too, excuse me, my allergies are sniffing me around. Um, what I really want to speak to is how we now know what Tennessee whiskey tastes like, but this really should be the benchmark by which all other Tennessee whiskeys are evaluated and judged, because this is the truest form of the best version of what a Tennessee whiskey has been and is today. Can you talk about how the legacy of Nearest Green and your family was legendary in both the whiskey business and the culture of Lynchburg, Tennessee, and Tennessee whiskey?
Well, my grandmother, Annie Bell Green Edie, is Nearest Green's granddaughter. She was very proud of her grandfather and what he meant to the spirits industry. Now, what we did not know is how deep the history ran until a few years ago. But what Nearest meant to Lynchburg, where he was all those years, where he met Jack Daniel, where he raised his family, the relationship that he and Jack Daniel established, nurtured, and worked alongside. I think it set the stage for the beautiful little town of Lynchburg, where I grew up, mostly in regards to race relations. You know, coming from a small southern town, most people, when they hear Lynchburg, they think something totally opposite. I can contest that growing up in Lynchburg was the most beautiful experience that a young girl could have, especially a young African American girl, because we did not have those racial tensions that so many other cities, towns experienced in the South during the 60s. I am 60 years old. I am old enough to remember it all, but I saw it through the lens of a television, not from personal experience. And I think that Nearest Green and Jack Daniels' friendship set the stage, set the tone for how people lived in Lynchburg. And for that, my grandmother, you know, was extremely proud of. And that just passed down from generation to generation. And I too am very proud of that.
There's something really powerful in the story you're telling me. It's the true lessons of Lynchburg.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Even the townspeople of Lynchburg, when Fawn, you know, arrived in Lynchburg in 2016, they immediately took to her. And I think for the vast part of them, it's because they know my family. And they found that um, Fawn was genuine, is genuine, and that she was there to elevate and shine a light on a legacy that never really got outside of the walls, the city limits of Lynchburg. So once Fawn laid out who she was, what she was about, you know, more than 10,000 artifacts rolled in from family, the townspeople of Lynchburg, and others. So yeah, it's
Wow.
just it is who Lynchburg is. They are beautiful people there.
Can I ask mentoring? Because you and I are approximately the same vintage. We came from the same time in the world. And we became women at the same time. And we were witness to and participants in both legacies of discrimination and opportunity.
Yes.
Fast forward to tell the story of Uncle Nearest and this distillery and of Tennessee whiskey, having narratives, truth, and legacy rooted in both race and gender. How do we have a conversation and appreciation where we allow the whiskey to speak for itself, but not in a way that diminishes or otherwise obfuscates or scrubs some of that reality?
Yeah.
And I don't know how to do that, because as much of a storyteller as I am so confused, because this is something where under any other set of circumstances, I say, res ipsa loquitur, the thing speaks for itself. My goodness, if you can find better, bring it to me, because I don't think you can.
You
But
know,
how do you do this without having this conversation?
I really believe, Jennifer, that there are things in life, most things in life probably, that happen just the way they should, when they should. And so I think speaking truth is powerful. Certainly, there were some difficult times for Nearest Green, for my family. Him being a slave and enduring trials and tribulations that I cannot begin to fathom. But I think it's always best to speak truth and let truth guide the conversation. When it comes to race relations and gender relations, there is some darkness that comes along with that, right? But for me, now, being a fully grown woman and having the ability to accept the good, the bad, and the ugly, I choose not to look back. I choose not to look back because there's no need in drudging up the woulda, coulda, shouldas when my blessings lie ahead. My grandmother always taught us, and I live by it today, that looking back will only cause you to stumble when heading forward. So while things were bad in the past, and we still have a long ways to go in regards to race relations, I choose to live in a positive space with positive energy and look to the future and not cause myself to stumble.
Well, we've gone a little bit over the time that we had, but I am so greedy and grateful to have this time with you. And I want to sort of finish this up in the following way. One of my favorite quotes that makes me feel better about life in general as I take the morning and start a new day is, when you know better, you do better. And I believe it was Maya Angelou that said, when you know better, do better. You have a duty to do better. I'm going to take that, I'm going to build upon it and say, and when you have better, you serve better.
Absolutely.
No reason in the world why, if you are going to serve a sip of company whiskey so good and a tradition that you kept it for when real company came to visit you, when you kept a bottle that was so special you only shared it on the most special occasions, when you have better, you serve better.
I love that.
There's no better than this incredible Uncle Nearest master distiller, Victoria Butler. Victoria, we should say Victoria Edie Butler, you were named after your grandmother. I love the connection and the legacy and the tradition. We raise our glass to you and to family.
Thank you so much. To family. I didn't bring a glass to the table, but I am so grateful, so very grateful for this time together. And I look forward to meeting you face to face. Please accept this as a personal invitation to come visit us at the Nearest Green Distillery in Shelbyville, Tennessee. I would love to meet you face to face, Jennifer. This has been an honor and a pleasure. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you so much. This is incredible whiskey. And of course, there's distribution everywhere. Let's talk a bit before we go about production. Is this an easy whiskey to find, or is it allocated and scarce? Where are we with this? Is this something that we have to stand in line overnight to get, or is this something you've made available for us everywhere?
Well, up until the pandemic, it was available everywhere, all 50 states, 12 countries, right? But like everyone else, we have been affected by the shortages due to the horrible pandemic that we've been dealing with since the last couple of years. We are in most markets. We're back on the shelves in most markets, but it's with the 1884. If you are lucky enough to find some 1856 out there, I encourage you to get it. But we are making our way back around to having both SKUs in every state, every restaurant and hotel and bar that we were in before. So just bear with us. It's not that it's allocated per se. It's just that we are making our way back from bottle shortages, cork shortages, labels, all of that. But we're making our way back around.
Victoria, thank you so very much for being here. I have to tell you, this has been an interview that I was looking forward to for a very long time, and my heart is full and happy. Thank you so much for being so generous and spending this much time with us, and for making this incredible spirit.
Thank you so very much. Cheers to you, Jennifer, and to all those who are listening. Have a fantastic afternoon.
Cheers.
Whether you are thinking about becoming a restaurateur or you are already in the business, Michael Politz has written a must-read, The Food and Beverage Magazine's Guide to Restaurant Success. Pick up your copy today at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million, or wherever fine books are sold.